So today, I have a very special guest, someone that I call a friend, a comrade, a stand-up individuals, because this is what it is, sit down with the stand-ups. I created this podcast, and he's actually our first official guest of this podcast in our new studio. Tone was the first guest, but this is the first official guest on the podcast. And he's somebody that I respect, someone that I've watched, since he's been back into society, just continue to move, in what I say, a respectful manner. You know what I'm saying? With integrity. He carries himself with integrity. You know what I'm saying? He always smiling. So you never know what he's thinking, but you know what I'm saying? But he's always progressive, man. He's always in the right places, saying the right things. Somebody I respect, man. So I would like to introduce my guest today, my brother, Big A. Aron, what's going on, kid?
Thank you, man.
Today, man?
Man, I'm great. I want to say thank you for allowing me to come on and
because everybody can't come here, eh?
Everybody can't.
You know what I'm saying? That's why
everybody.
I created this podcast, because I was tired of watching podcasts where people interview people who don't have integrity, who've never been battle tested, who haven't been through anything, who haven't, you know what I'm saying, who really don't deserve to be interviewed. So it's like what I say to myself, if you see there's something that's missing, create it. Don't complain, activate. So, sit downs with the stand-ups was a birth child of that, especially, and I want to interview brothers and sisters, who have overcome, especially going to prison.
Right.
Because there's this stigma around prison about, you're a criminal and you're the worst scum of the earth, and you can't succeed afterwards. You got to go back to the same negativity and the bullshit that got you in prison. And, and so I want to interview and highlight brothers and sisters like yourself who dispel that myth. So
thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Just to add to that, I don't think that anything I do is abnormal. I just have a mission in my mind that I want to do better than I did previously, my last efforts, and I go about it that way.
And you carry yourself properly, man. So many people that I see who give, brothers who are formerly incarcerated this bad stigma, because those are the only people they want to interview. They want to interview the people that want to talk about, oh, I was this in jail and I was that, and always highlighting negativity. So this show is not, we don't want to focus on all the negativity. Yes, we want to get into the reality of what you went to jail for, all of those realities, but we want to highlight what you've done since you've been out and how you're moving on trajectory of what success looks like, and how other brothers and sisters like yourself who come back into society can go on that right track and can do things positively and can be extremely successful.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So,
let's do it.
So with that said, a lot of people know your story, but a lot of people don't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you're from Harlem, then you know it. You know what I'm saying? It is a household name. Aron, that's Aron, that's Aron. Tell me about, like, young Aron. How was young Aron? School, like, how were you?
I was just having this conversation with Fab the other day, and I was explaining to him, I said, dang, I was looking at other people, high school yearbook pictures, and I realized I don't even have a high school yearbook picture.
Wow. And why is that?
I didn't make it to high school in that frame. I went to high school in visiting mode. Like, I went there to hang out from time to time, but school was like a form of thought for me at that point. I had my mind set on hustling. I probably was out there since I was 12 years old, and by the time I got to high school, it was just for fun, and I didn't value education to that degree at that time. And I did in a way, and I didn't at the same time. So just to elaborate on that, I'll just say this. I wanted to graduate, but I didn't want my hustle to be stagnated by the schedule of school. So I ended up putting school on the back burner to pursue my...
I've never heard it put that way. You wanted to hustle. I mean, you wanted to graduate,
right,
but you didn't want graduation to stagnate the hustle. You didn't want it to interfere with the time.
I was moving up at the time. And
so when did you start hustling? When did you start?
So I gave it a try. Dude gave me some weed when I was 11 years old. Funny story. Before I got a chance to sell it, I put it under the bed in my room or whatever. It must have had a smell that I didn't realize was a little more potent than I realized at the time. My mom's might have found the joint. It disappeared. I never got confronted. I never got asked why it's in here. It just was gone.
It just was gone.
So I owed the dude the little change. He was on my back like I owed him stacks. But his little few hundred, I guess he needed it. So that was my first loss in life.
First loss. So you took your first loss with some weed.
Yeah.
So the weed was gone.
Weed gone.
You don't know where it went, but you know
it was gone.
It was gone.
I got this too. I had a partner. So he was 2 years older than me. He didn't have to go to school. I was still in elementary school. He had the ability to cut school already. I used to still try to keep up with the school schedule at that point. So he was selling more than me, and quit our little partnership. Made us have a little fist fight. But we ended up being friends again later on.
Okay. So you went from weed, and then after the weed, what happened?
So after the weed, we graduate, go to junior high school, and my cousins and my friends, they had this morning shift for this guy, whatever, and I wanted to go. I thought I was a little smarter than them. I thought I was sharper than them. So I needed money. I thought I needed money in my pocket that bad at that time. It was like a unspoken request in my household that you produce something. And when you do produce, I was given like a certain amount of rope after that to be a grown up. At least for a couple of hours. No beatings, no chastisement, just no confrontation, because I contributed to the overall welfare of the household, and thereby I was deemed important at that time. So it inspired me to try to go out there and get more. So that was the
motivation.
That was the fastest way, and it yielded results every day. So I was into that.
So it started out at 12, and then you went to junior high school, and then you went to the next level of what? It was weed? What was it?
Oh, it was the cracks then.
It was crack.
Yeah, now it's cracks. Crack was already fever pitch. It's 91. So in that time frame, I'm like, I'm out there. But I'm not important to the overall scheme of things, but I got exposure. So the spot was clicking. All I had to do was just sit there and pass them out. They had deuces back then. I don't know if
deuces.
People that was out in that era.
You had to be outside to understand.
Right.
You had to be out in that era. Deuces was a thing.
Right. Had the tall bottle deuces, red cap joints, right? Dude used to give me 2,000 packs at the beginning of the school day, and I'd be finished by 3. Then I'd go about my business.
So at that point you just wasn't going to school?
I ain't go to school the whole 7th grade year.
The whole 7th grade year. That was like when you was like, all right, this is clicking. The block is clicking. It's lucrative.
It's lucrative.
I'm being seen as a man in the household. I'm bringing in, I'm putting food in the refrigerator, right. Some money on the table.
Right.
I'm somebody.
I'm somebody.
So
I'm
at
fresh.
that point, you like, this is what I'm gonna do.
That's where I'm at with it.
This is where I'm at with it.
And I gotta defend my mom. She didn't advise. She didn't bother me, but when the school called and was like, yo, he didn't come the whole year, she was upset. So then we had our little beef, and I'm like, look, man,
can't do this, and both of them ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but I ain't gonna get no beatings though.
Yeah,
because I'm out here.
So at that point, you were just like, I'm grown.
Man,
ain't nobody gonna beat me. I hear you mad, but it ain't really much nobody gonna do.
I'm telling grown-ups to kind of pipe down. I mean, I got you. Stand over there, and so I couldn't come home and get a beating. I mean, it kind of was an oxymoron to me at that point. So it was time to kind of either figure out how to become fully a man or like start listening again. So, I just progressed as my little money came in.
So you growing, seventh grade, right. More and more. So when will you say like, did 7th grade? So did you go to high school at all?
Yes. So I was embarrassed because I was an honor roll kid in elementary school. I was honor rolled out, and I don't want to give the impression I was some arch criminal at 12 years old. It wasn't that. It was a dabbling of sorts, but it managed to take up that whole school year. I get left back. I'm embarrassed. So
that's a feeling.
Right. I go to school the next year, and the assistant principal assured me, like, if you apply yourself and come to school, give me the grades you need, I'll skip you. So that was my motivation. I didn't want to be left behind. So that year I kind of applied myself, and I got back on the ball with school, and went to high school on time. Get to high school is a whole different energy. Everybody fly. All them super seniors is already, they in power. So I'm like, all right, now I got to keep up again. So I get back out there, and now I'm in the mix. And before long, I found myself in little troubles, little robbery there, and another one here. And then Judge Judy sent me to DFY.
Judge Judy.
Wow.
Judge Judy sent. So you was in DFY at what age?
So the first robbery charge came at 12, and then the second one at 13, 14, something to that effect. And she sent me upstate.
At 13. So you was in DFY
at 14.
14. So at 14 you was in DFY. You came home from DFY at what time?
So now it's about 95-ish. And then 95, 96. So yeah, I'm coming into 96. And then I get back. I don't know if I immediately started hustling. Yeah, shit. So I met my father at 15 years old.
So you never met your father prior to being 15?
I never met my father.
Wow.
I never met him.
So you just was the man of the household. So that's...
I had a brother. He was the man.
He was the man.
Until he left. He went outside. He was outside early. And it got to the point where when he was gone, then it transitioned, obviously. But now is my time. And I'm coming home from the DFY, what have you. And when I got home, I got presented with a challenge. Either go to high school or, get some money. So my father, being as though I met him at 15, he had like certain amount of time of back child support to pay back to his situation because the people identified him. So he owed the system some back child support. I somehow checked the mailbox one day, and it was a check for $3,000 in there. I get excited. Oh, hey, Val, let's go cash this check or whatever. And she like, oh, that's my money. I'm like, nah. I need this one. I'm saying, you got the rest of them, but I want to hold on to this one. So I went and took $1,500, bought a 62, and then the other $1,500 I basically spent in the Nautica store on 72nd in Columbus. I don't know if you remember that one.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was the spot.
I used to go to Martin Luther King, so everybody. You did?
Yeah, first I went to Brandeis, came back from DFY, I went to King.
And what year?
So this is 96-ish.
Yeah, so I graduated in 94, so you came.
Respect, you're a little older than me.
Yeah, a little slower.
A little older.
Yeah. So that you went and got your 62, you ain't turned back since.
Right. I went out there. I kicked their ass, you know what I'm saying? My hustle was crazy. I ain't leave the spot, you know what I'm saying? I was out. And then the opportunity to go down south came. So that September comes. I don't know what inspired us going to the fight, but we went to see Mike Tyson versus Bruce Seldon fight. Bumping the Tupac. We had the table. It was a crazy, crazy time in hip-hop history. But overall, I was a big fan of Tupac anyway, so it was a big deal. But that trip itself opened my eyes to a lot of what it really looked like when you start doing really good. So that was like a commercial of sorts for ambition or, just wanting to be bigger than I was at the time. So at that point, when I got back from Vegas, sad trip, being as though he got shot or whatever, I went to Dominican Republic the same week. Went out there on I can't say Frank Lucas dreams because, right. No disrespect to Duke or whatever, but so I went out there with the ambition again, like, all right, we're gonna find the people, you know what I'm saying, and get it shaken.
To Mexico.
No, we went to DR.
DR, my fault.
But my man had a guy out there that was a good friend of his, and he got deported or whatever, so he still supposed to have knew something about something. And then by the time we get back and that presented itself, and it was on.
And it was just,
I mean,
the DR thing, that was like when you was like, all right, now
right,
moving up.
Right. So the DR thing gave.
So what year was this? What year?
It's still 96.
96. Still 96.
Right. Okay. So that was September. Then going into the later part of 96 was like the blooming stage for me, right? And then 97, it was on like Donkey Kong. So that was kind of my time right there. So, but like everything, I did good, then I did bad, then I did good again. Then
that's what the streets
right.
Up and downs. I tell, I always used to tell people, man, is in everything is up and downs.
Right.
And a lot of times when people glorify the streets and they talk about the streets, they make it seem like it's just, we just got a bunch of money. And so the risk don't really be worth the reward.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't think that now, but when you're young, you just like, you know what I'm saying? You don't think it at that time. You just running around. You just trying to, you see, I've got money.
Right.
I got girls. I got the clothes. I got everything I want.
Right.
But then when you realize, when you look back on it, you start saying, damn, this really wasn't worth it. It's like, it's this 3, 4, 5 year thing that I lost 10, 20. Right. It don't really be balancing out. So this was with you at 96. You went to DR, turned it up. Right. So what was going on in between that time, like, what was going on from 96 to like 2000?
Right. So let's be clear about the facts. In 96, my main desire was to have an impact on my household.
That was your main. So basically, you hustled, like out of Jay-Z said, a desperation. Like, we're not gonna be poor. Like, I'm not running around. Not gonna
be poor.
It wasn't.
And even if we're gonna be poor and comfortable at the same time, right? Because
it's not gonna not be able to eat.
Right. That level of who's big time and who's doing okay and who's little dude, like, that's relative at the time. You hustle from where you are, right? It's some dudes that never get past 125 grams and they feel like they're the shit. You know what I'm saying? So I can't necessarily say that I knew what level I wanted to be on, but I had an idea. I seen the movies. I know what Bricks on Bricks look. I heard of Rich Porter in them. So I heard the stories. I know what the chart's supposed to look like from this dude that did a little bit to that dude that did a lot of it. So, they provided the blueprint, if you will, and you had to have a appropriate level of audacity at that point to kind of follow in those steps. And if you jumped out there in the streets, you have to know the names. The names that give you the energy to go forth, the Guy Fishers and all of these names like that came before you. And then you want to leave your mark. But more important to me,
especially in Harlem, that's the Harlem thing. Like, I notice, a lot of people, hustlers in Harlem, because hustling became famous in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? It's like just the ambiance of what hustling was. Like, you go to 155th Street and you see the hustle, and you're from the Polo Grounds. Right. So you go there and you see cars, you see chains, you see all, and that was the thing that the law that just pulled most of the people from Harlem in right there.
It made it worse.
You going to Willie Burgers, everybody pulling up in the biggest cars, the biggest chains.
Right.
The girls is around their car. You like, nah, it's no way I'm not doing this.
Man.
There's no way I'm just gonna be a kid out here with nothing and this is happening.
Right. So that's the thing. You have Record Park, you have Rooftop over there across the street from Record Park. It was a gambling spot across the street from that everybody used to come to. So all of the names from here, the Queens dudes, the Brooklyn dudes, that everybody that was getting money from whatever area came to my neighborhood. Now, once again, I'm a little too young to be relevant. However, I'm noticing, I'm watching, I see who's who, I see how they carry themselves, and those examples become your motivation. Those examples become a part of your psyche, and you start mimicking. So I took the necessary steps, and I took some moves from him, and that dude moves look good, and I borrowed a little bit from him,
And created your own.
I created my own.
I say that all the
aura.
time. I say a lot of us, our only vision of success was the drug dealer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't live next to no doctor. There was no lawyers there. There was none of that. It was just the drug dealer.
Right.
So he had the girl I wanted. He had the car I wanted.
He had it.
Everybody respected him. So it's like, yo, that's who I want to be. So, you know, in essence, we're pretty much groomed into that because you only can be what you see.
Right.
You know, so you was just basically was a product of your environment.
Right.
You know, and the innate nature, especially of man, a strong man, you want to compete and you want to be the best at it. You know what I'm saying? If you involved in anything, I'm gonna be the best at it. And you know, hustling was like a sport, especially in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, all the way through to like the 2000s. It was a sport. It
was a sport,
especially in our area, like from Harlem to the Bronx. Like that was the sport. Like especially if you went down to Harlem and you was like, nah, dudes is getting too much money, man. Like I used to go to King. Niggas was coming to King with pockets. The locker room was like a casino. You understand what I'm saying? The gym was a casino. Niggas was coming. I'm in 9th grade and niggas got $5,000-$10,000 in their pocket. And I'm like, how is this happening? You know, so they got moms, North Faces. They got they going right to the Nordica store. So you like, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for you to not fall into that law. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then especially when you come from where you ain't got it. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we privileged and we had good homes and shit was good for us. You like, nah, I'm just not gonna have nothing. And they got all this and I don't got nothing. It's not like you like, I'm doing good, you know, I don't got. So you like, you start out basically, like you said, trying to make sure your home is taken care of, trying to do that. And then after that, you like, well, I did that. Now I can go into the next arena. So you just move up and on. So from 96 in the 2000s. So that was when Harlem, like hip hop was you know what I'm saying? That's when the whole hip hop. So like affiliations to hip hop, like what was Aron doing in like the hip hop era in that era?
So before the Harlem hip hop scene, and I'm not speaking the Dougie Fresh and them era because obviously they had their own importance, Kumo D and all of them people. Exactly. And I was there in Rucker when Rakim did I Ain't No Joke. I was in Rucker Park, sitting there playing in the park. When they came in, set up the cameras, I'm like, oh, shoot, look at Flavor. Like, it was a big deal to me at this time. I'm a kid. I loved it. I mean, and looking at Rooftop Wall was like my favorite thing. I used to actually go to the park just to stand across the street and look at the wall. It was littered with graffiti. It had the advertisement of Brucey B and Busy B. So I used to draw off that wall, like just trying to mimic the letter pattern. And it was a big deal. So the whole culture always influenced some of our moves and the things that we aspire to. And you know, not to go back again, but that's why I do love the culture, because it gave us a sense of imagination, if you will. And the drug dealers, for what it's worth, those were the first guys that showed the kind of heart that was a new feeling for us. We seen housing men. We didn't see doctors and lawyers because they wasn't in our neighborhoods. We see housing men. We see the janitor. We see the people that, you know, and we respect these men as grown men and providers for their family. But the drug dealers gave us a sense of importance. Everything they touch on a daily was affected by their newfound wealth. Sure, they had the girls and the clothes, but more importantly, if somebody needed something for school, if somebody needed a bill paid, they was giving that to people and not having to think about, you know, the expenditure. It was nothing, especially with the rate of inflation at that time. And it was a low expenditure for them to have a big impact on your house. Providing your mom just got a eviction note that month and somebody gave her $300, it was still a big deal.
Mhm.
So, all right, back to moving forward. These efforts on their behalf became some of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be impactful on the people that I loved. So I wanted to make sure that if they needed, I had it. And I didn't really see that, going to get a 9-to-5 job. I never had a job in my life, so not a traditional job. So it never was a part of my psyche. I always felt like I would have to go outside and get it.
So wow. So and that's what I say all the time. You know, the mind state that came with the 90s and 80s era of hustling, it wasn't about negativity, and it wasn't criminology to us, right? It was survival, right? It was, I want to do good for my community. Like we didn't hustle just to floss on each other and say I got more than you. Most of the drug dealers and the hustlers, were taking care of the community. Like you could go, they was paying rent, like kids, they was like, I remember drug dealers in my hood when I was playing basketball early, they was paying for me to go to camps. They was buying me sneakers. They was like, nah, we don't want you in the streets. They was doing all the block parties, giving out all the stuff. So there was like this Robin Hood sense. You know what I'm saying? All of us wanted to be the person in the hood that took care of the hood and was the person that you can come to, because we didn't want nobody suffering. So it was a different mind state. You know what I'm saying? And although we realized we was doing wrong, we felt like we was doing wrong for the right reasons. And it wasn't just we trying to hurt. We just want to do negative shit. Nah, it was, I'm not trying to be broke. I know these young kids ain't trying to be broke. I want to make sure everybody in this community got something. And if I got something, then they got something. I want to be the person that I know that they can come to and get something from, and that's still, and a lot of people don't understand it's not criminal mentality, right? Because I still base a lot of the principles that I live off of the streets. You know what I'm saying? It's not the crime, it's integrity. Right? It's levels of integrity. So they like, yo, you can't be gangster but woke. And I'm like, why? Because the principles of what I call gangster is manhood, protecting women, make sure that the children are safe. All of these principles that I got from the streets that I didn't learn from nowhere else. I didn't have no school of, that they taught you how to be a boy and all that. I learned what I learned from the streets, and I apply that now as a civilian, as somebody who's not, and I apply all of those things, and those things make me greater in every aspect of life that I live now. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm listening to you, we all had the same things. We all had the same mentalities, and we was never just, and that's what I want to like try to dispel. A lot of people who commit crime is not criminals. You know what I'm saying? You trying to, some people that just enjoy committing crime. They're like, yo, I want to do negative shit. That's just who I am. But there's a lot of us that was like, yo, I'm not going to be broke.
See, I'm confused about the mission of today's youngers. But before I could speak on them, because I didn't even answer the question on what the 96 era meant to me. But let's not take for granted the mob era either. That model led to the Rich Porters and them. And I mean, let's even to the Nicky Bonds and them of that era. They were direct beneficiaries of that model that they set. And then that one trickled down to the riches in them. Then it trickled down to us, and then so on and so forth. But as it kept going, one was to level the playing field of the have and the have-nots. The next one became, oh, it's our time, we going for broke, and we're going to try to change the whole dynamics of the culture. Because these guys literally made a genre.
When you look at Bumpy Johnson and them, like they was trying to create a whole, they was trying to create, like you said, they was trying to create the beloved community for black people. Like they wanted to put black people in the same light everybody else is in. Like, we're going to create our own shit over here.
Albeit misguided. Albeit. Because we don't, at that point.
We don't know nothing else.
Right. Since these drugs is like newly introduced to the community, I'm and I don't want to speak in factual terms because one, I was too young, right? But I just want to give my opinion of it is when these guys came out with the idea of let's gather all of these resources and monies to buy the community and pay for this and make sure we good and make sure they good. The end result that the powers that be didn't care that happened to the community, I don't think they seen it going that far at the beginning of it. By the time it got to us and it was just a matter of, I was already fucked up. We can't do nothing to make it worse or better. Just get what you can and try to do good from there. So it still was an objective to kind of do good from bad. Now it's more of it's attention-seeking thing and more of a, I just want to look good. But I guess we all get lost in that journey because we all ended up buying shit we didn't need. We all ended up with a chain or two that wasn't necessary or a car that had nothing to do with the overall objective. So we all get blinded by, our greed and we get lost. But if you will, I answer the
the
question.
96 to 2000.
Yeah, so that
hip-hop
96,
era,
right, that 96 to 2000 era, it was a exciting time. Kids, you want to be a kid. You want to have fun. You see the young rappers that, might be a little seasoned now, but at that time when the Big L's and digging in the crates in the Bronx and all of these guys were still young enough to have a direct impact on how our youth was fueled by the music and stuff. It was fire. It was great. I loved every second of it. Jay-Z and them came, Nas, and they was killing Wu-Tang. It created this energy that you can make it, you got fun. It could be a glorious time, and I was all for it. I was outside every day, all day. Nobody went home, I don't think, but not that I was a person that enjoyed hanging outside, but I was a person that enjoyed the energy of the era. So I was on the road a lot, down south, hustling. Every town I went to, I tried to make my impression felt. I wanted to constantly get to the levels that I wanted to be at. But that era in itself was special because it gave true beginnings of wealth to people that didn't get a chance to have it no other way. Kids that wouldn't have made it with a 9-to-5, but they end up benefiting off the jerkery that happened to the first wave of rappers. So it was new money. Then the street dudes was in competition with them. They was in competition with us. And it just was a hell of a time, like witnessing it all. Like if you was there, if you was present at that time.
that was kind of like the era where I got into it. You know what I'm saying? So like I was a big L fan, you know what I'm saying? I remember just listening to Big L on Stress and Papito, like, yo, this is probably the best rapper ever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I had him and Jay-Z's freestyle, like that was the motto for me. Like I listened to that shit so much. I used to be like, I like these, like I've never forget that freestyle. Like I used to listen to it all the time, my little cassette tape.
Right.
And I taped it and shit popped, and then I taped it back together with the nail polish and all of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was that era.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? That was that era of music. So you was shining like in the era when especially when New York and Harlem hip hop was shining.
Right.
You know, so what was like, so Big L, you know Big L?
Yes.
So what was like your relationship with L?
L is man, that was a good guy. L was funny. L was talented. He was a leader. And how many people benefited off L's example? He kind of opened the door. Of course, you have to have your own level of talent. You have to have your own drive. But L's presence led people to say, fuck that, I'm ready too. So all of the dope rhymes Mace came up with, all of the fire shit Cam came up with, was a direct result of L being L at the right time. And Nas, right? So they both got the Columbia deal. I'm in junior high school, they got the Columbia deal. Even though that wasn't a time where I should have been noticing what was going on, it was big news to the neighborhood. Like, oh, they got the deals. And we like, damn, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? So everybody kind of wandered around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I was shy.
You was rhyme, man?
I was shy.
But you used to write a couple?
I rhymes.
You got bars?
I had bars.
No,
Pause.
Hey, you had
so
bars.
Nah, I definitely it's somebody out there with a recording of my squeaky voice on it somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got
I gotta see this.
I promise. It's somebody room, is a tape somewhere.
You're supposed to be one of the children of the corn.
I promise you, I'm so happy the tape players are gone so they could never get this, right? You know what I'm saying? So I definitely enjoyed the art form, man. I was crazy in graffiti. I thought music was the shit, but I hustled. Mm-hmm. I hustled more than I had the desire to sit in the studio. I promise you. I hustled all day. Like I didn't. I probably would have still been laughing at a nigga that was rapping because that's when the money was transitioning. Mm-hmm. The street money still was better than the rapper money at that time.
It was.
And before
the rappers wanted to be like the hustlers.
Right. The superstars didn't make it yet. Biggie and them just started, right? Mm-hmm. But then Biggie died early, right? So to that in trust, everybody had aspirations to look as good as Rakim or Coogee Rap. Like I'm not downplaying how good they looked when the lights were on. But we wasn't impressed.
It was a level of money. Like, right. When you hear the rapper, you hear Big LL and them talk about, man, right. The street dudes had the money. Like, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was talking to Tone, he was like, man, we was coming through helicopters.
Right.
And L and them wanted to be around. Like, all of the rappers wanted to be around us. We had real money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Me being stuck on them corners, I watched all of that. I promise you, man, it was a hell of a sight because these were young men, teenagers coming out of teenage years into young adulthood, and they had the glow of youth. They had the audacity of, I don't give a fuck. But more importantly, nobody knew their worth yet. You didn't know you wasn't supposed to die in your 20s. You didn't know that at the end of all of this drug dealing, it's going to be a litter of people destroyed, a community that once was standing strong is going to be a burnt out shell of a building. Now, some of that was aimed. Some of it was, the people that was higher than us wanting the buildings to be burnt down for gentrification purposes that we couldn't see yet. We don't know what we don't know, right? But our contribution to the destruction of the community can't be discounted. So, but at the time when they first came out, man, I tell you, like, these were stars in the making because these guys embody all of the characteristics that we love in leaders. And they were tough. They were handsome. They were fly. And that inspired so many people, right? And it gave so much content for music, right? So everybody had to have this story of who did what when and how it felt when he did this and when that nigga shot such and such, what happened next? So me standing there all day on these street corners, I got a chance to witness. I don't want to say my level of participation in those things sometimes, but I was there. Hashtag I was there.
Yeah, I was there. So I remember. So when I'm sitting here thinking about L, like L was he was the man. Like L was one of my favorite rappers. So I remember freestyling with L. I remember Mace brought me to 40th.
Right.
And I got out and me and L was rapping. And he was like, yo, this nigga can rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then Primo talks about it all the time. We was in Forest Projects and it was me, him, Party Artie, AG, Show was there. I think Fat Joe was there. Diamond D. It was a bunch of us just out in Forest.
Right.
And we had one of the best ciphers. And Primo loved. He's like, yo, it was you, L, and Party Artie. Y'all was just going in.
Right.
God bless the dead Party. God bless the dead L. So when L passed away, like, how was that?
First of all, that was a sad time. L was such a if improv was a real thing for a rapper, he was the improv king, right? He was a comedian without being paid for it. So a girl come up one day, she said, "Oh, I ain't impressed by none of y'all. I only mess with a dude if he got 8 inches or better." He said, 8 inches? Shorty, I ain't cutting my dick for nobody. so Ella make you laugh by accident. Like he knock a dude out one day. Who? So he like, yeah, I'm gonna start shooting niggas next. His brother said, whoa. You gotta stab somebody first. Like, you can't just skip over like you can't just run around shooting people. Like, so even though some of this stuff was crazy, once again, it was destructive.
It was young.
It was hilarious in real time because we identified with what we thought was tough, right? What we laughed at probably wasn't funny after you look at it in retrospect. But at that time, it was hilarious because it was meant to be a joke. Mm-hmm. And even if nobody wanted Ella be violent, everybody wanted Ella express his art. Nobody wanted him to be in the streets and do stuff. Now, if the street life ended up touching L by proximity, then that's the sad part, right? Because his art helped him escape. Then the proximity of the hood gets back on you and you could die from it. And nobody foresees that kind of outcome when he's not a bad person in totality. So you look at the Ben of L, he's a rapper. He said his rhymes. He hung out with girls. He liked to gamble. He wanted to party. He'd make you laugh all day. And then you can make one little mistake and you'd be dead. And that's the part people can't foresee about the street life, that if I could tell anybody, yo, man, you might want to reconsider that lifestyle, because even though that dude is tough enough to go to jail and that dude right there is tough enough to kill, if he do this kind of lifestyle, the end result to his journey is going to be death or jail. And we didn't.
What does that mean?
Yeah, we didn't even foresee that. That might mean something to the 4 kids he had. It might mean a lot. His absence might mean so much to those 4 kids that's left behind that we would beg him not to go on that journey. But we didn't know we was that valuable yet. We was too young to know we was that valuable.
That's crazy. And it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why when I'm having conversations with kids, I talk to them like me and you talking. Like the same way we talking. Because we've been through a lot of shit. Right. So I'm not sitting there like, don't do this, young. I'm like, listen, I know exactly what you're thinking.
Right.
Because I was young at that. I wanted this, I wanted that, but this is the reality that comes.
Right.
So now if you willing to, because understanding sharks in the water. Now, if you want to jump in there, I'm advising you not to.
Right.
But just understand when you jump in there, you're going to have to deal with those sharks. You know what I'm saying? And I'm having real conversations with them. I'm not talking from where I am now. I'm talking to you from where I was when you was. Because when I have conversations with them, I'd be like, yeah, what would somebody have had to say to me when I was 15 to change my mind state? Because at 15, 16, I'm like, man, y'all old niggas don't know what y'all talking about. I know, like, we outside. Y'all ain't even. So I'm like, how would you have had to approach me for me to even pay attention to you? First, you got to look away.
Right.
First, I got to feel like, you know what I'm saying, you look like something. All right. And then if you got a level of respect around, I'm going to give you a little bit of ear.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got to talk to me like you understand what's going on. You can't come from me from a hierarchy. You can't come to me like you talking down to me, like you know more than me. Nah,
right.
I don't know. I'm asking you questions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I talk to the youth now. Yo, so what you think is going to happen? So tell me what your plan is. You know what I'm saying? So, because when you start hearing your plan and the shit don't make sense to you, then you start reconsidering. I don't got to tell you something. I just want to ask you. And as you start answering your own questions, you start coming up with your own solutions. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way that I deal with them now. You know, but as for you,
right,
you went through that era. L lose his life. You know, you've been all through the hip hop, the Harlem. Everybody knows Aron. Aron's been around. So you was young with a kid.
Oh, Not young.
Not young.
I was 22.
Well, 22 is
That's young. That's young. But at least I made it
You
past
made
21.
it to 22.
First of all, making it to 21 was the issue.
Mm-hmm. We wasn't even supposed to make it to. We wasn't
This
supposed
is
to
the thing.
survive.
Making it to 21, that was old.
And you was married early.
I was married early also.
At 22?
No. Give or take 26.
20. So you had a kid at 22 and then got married at 26. So you had a long run.
My life was over.
What I'm trying to say.
I was supposed to be dead, like
You had
28-ish.
so listen,
it was
from
supposed
12,
to be canceled check.
So look, from 12
right.
to 26, you didn't do like real major time, none of that in between.
So, remember, I did the Juvenile.
Juvenile.
Went through the
DFI.
Spofford joint. They showed me all kind of love.
So how long you was in there?
Oh, it's like Spofford is a holding place. It's not meant to do a bid. So, my process of everything was like a fake trial in juvenile court. So, the dude came and said, I told the kids to rob him, and that was it. He sent me up there. So I didn't. The funny part about these,
you didn't even do this,
man.
That's what they always get you for the shit you don't do,
man. Both of the little juvenile. The first one is I'm at school. I'm just minding my business, but I hung with all of the kids that
do the negative shit.
Man, I wish I could say y'all names. Y'all was bad kids, and I promise you, I should tell your name. Nah.
Not on this show.
Nah, never. You know that. You know better than I just did my time, y'all. Don't do that. So no, but I hung with all the kids that was terrible, right? So once again, these kids don't know what's they cause. They think that they following a pattern of people that they thought was real dudes.
Mm-hmm.
We had this concept of what little gangsters supposed to do, and thereby they was following that mode. So they run around robbing kids at the lunchtime, and I'm not saying I never. So this is why.
But you just didn't do it this
right.
time.
It was
exactly.
so easy to blame me because
because you've been with the bullshit before,
right?
But you wasn't with the bullshit on this day.
This particular day, I'm standing across the street. They run up on a kid. I don't have nothing to do with it.
Like they know. I know he be with them. He definitely.
They came in my classroom and said, "It's on you." I said, "Really, man?" All right,
it's
cool.
karma because you done got away with a couple. So
right.
That's how I always.
The next one, we in my hood. Dude come in the hood. My man like, yo, about to get him. I'm like, don't do that. Get him. Don't do that. He robs dude. Dude, he ends up hitting dude upside his head. Dude come out from his stupor, try to come to me.
Sees you.
I got a 2-piece and pop, poof, just to get him off me. Like, why are you grabbing me, family? Like, talk to me. Next thing you know, the police at my mother's door. She like,
Sounds
look at
familiar.
you. Right. So, once again, that proximity to stupidity could affect your life.
Situation, yeah.
And, they asked me who did it. I'm like, what? Come on, I'm playing a lot, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
So they send me up there, and that's the end of that story. But I think it's a big thing to know, and that's why you got to watch your company. But more importantly, you got to know why you outside. So if we had the guys that, and sure, we had everybody say, yo, shorty, it's death or jail at the end of this. Heard that before.
Yeah.
What we never had in abundance was the alternatives or the why the risk is worth it until you get this building. Mm-hmm. And you can't deviate from this mission of getting the building before you start buying dumbass shit to put your life in jeopardy. So, and that's what the mob dudes did in successful ways. They got the garbage.
They got the garbage.
They got the construction.
They put their kids through college. They all lawyers and this and that.
They different.
They changed. They changed the trajectory of their whole, their whole bloodline.
That wasn't meant for us. So we follow.
The thing is, we talk about crime and all these things. America is built on crime. Right. Every aspect of America. If you look throughout history, they colonized. They took this. They did this. They built that. And then they call whatever they wanted. Okay, this is legal. We're going to do it this way. It's legal for us. Even though, You might not like it, but we're gonna make it legal because it fits.
It fits
It fits the
our
format
agenda.
our agenda.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened in the hood. We didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? We had lemons and we made lemonade. You know what I'm saying? So we had to say, I tell people all the time, you mad at the drug deal, but you ain't mad at the pharmacy.
Right.
You ain't mad at CVS. You ain't mad at Pharma. That's where the drugs come from.
Yeah.
You mad at the little dude on the corner that's trying to figure out how he gonna sell his food, but the nigga that's making billions of dollars,
Right.
that's selling the same exact shit that you talking about, we the worst people in the world for, you're not saying nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? So, just understanding that we just try to figure out America, how we was going to get a piece of the pie, how we was going to get a piece of the American dream. And as we grew, we realized that it wasn't designed for us.
It wasn't designed.
It was never designed for us to get that. And not that way.
Somebody had to be the fall guy.
Somebody had to be the fall guy. So we learned and we evolved our way of thinking. So young Aron goes to junior high school, goes to high school, DFY, goes through all these things, going through Spofford. You went to Spofford, but you still a hustler. Aron's a hustler.
I'm out there.
So you outside. So the time between what happened, so you said you had a kid at 22. So between 16 and 22 was like you just was outside.
Oh, I'm running through everything.
You run,
and I mean that respectfully.
You mean that respectfully?
I mean that with all due respect.
Because Aron was a ladies' man. I mean, one might say.
I think Aron was taken advantage of.
You think the ladies took advantage of you,
I was a victim.
You was young. They was just trying to have their way with you.
Yeah, truth be told, so I got this look to me that makes a person think that either he a pushover or he could be manipulated. I
so
think
you allowed the woman to feel
right. At a point, I think that I allowed for
them to think that she was taking advantage of you.
He's a little cute boy. Right.
You don't know what to do with it. You right.
Right.
You played into it.
That's amazing. You gonna do that? Yeah, that's all that. So I think because and I hung with older guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big L brother, Big Lee, he was 10 years older than me. My man Cole, he was 19 years older than me. My brother, 7 years older than me. And they all had an opinion about how you approach women. So I got so many different variety of, they ain't right, they corrupted, this ain't right. And that indoctrination to relationships is no good. Like you're not gonna value it before you even find out if it's real. So initially, before them, I'm like, I'm gonna marry her. And this is over, right? They like, like, yo, dog, like you gotta go through some joints first, and then I'm like, nah, she's good enough. Like, she's perfect. Like, nah, you don't know no better. But, once again, you're gonna get your information from somewhere. I wish in our neighborhood we got more positive viewpoints on relationships or just life in general, because most of our leaders of these neighborhoods were going from a level of desperation or a
trauma,
level of I don't give a.
We passing on past trauma, you know what I'm saying, that we dealt with, that we seen, and we like, I don't want to deal with. So it's all trauma. It's all trauma that we all dealing with.
Right.
So we getting information from somebody who's been negatively impacted. Right. Somebody who was taught wrong is teaching us, and they teaching us wrong.
Right.
So you can't really blame them. They just teaching us what they know, but they just don't really know.
Right. And the ability to process all of the things that's happening at once. So when I start going down south, I want to buy property. But the guys around me, not interested in that. You change your mind. They interested in motorcycles, you buy a motorcycle. They're interested in watches, you get a Rolex. Right? So you end up doing it to yourself, and you could blame somebody, but it ain't gonna mean nothing. But then you got tidbits of what could be. So I'm standing in front of the hood one day. Acura Legend, goldish, with the B's, pull off the highway. It's Biggs. Biggs give snippet tape to Jay-Z. He give it to my man Ox. So he give him the snippet tape of Reasonable Doubt. We listening to the snippet tape like it's an album. Man, I took that snippet tape everywhere and listened to it like it was an album. And nobody could tell nobody otherwise. It was the best one verse per song you could get. Those glimpses of what could be was available to everybody. Now, granted, I don't know who wanted to be Diddy versus who wanted to be Jay-Z. I can't tell you that part.
Somebody wanted to be
I wanted to be like Jay and them because that was the pattern we was already following. Hustler, and we going, make it make sense somehow. So I don't know if they get enough credit for providing a great example of what could be.
But that's what I'm trying to say. There's so much, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast, right? Because there's so much either over glorification of the wrong shit or villainizing the right shit, right? Because at the end of the day, you're punishing or you're mad at individuals who figured out a way out of nothing. They picked up sand and said, yo, nigga, we're going to make this shit into bricks somehow.
Right.
And you mad at them because they didn't do it the conventional way or they didn't do it the legal way because there was no way to do it the legal way.
Right.
The way they get it. They had to figure out, we're going to put this shit this way. They saying we can't get no fire from over here. We got to go steal some fire. We got to do this shit, but we got to build us a house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't get mad at a nigga that's saying, I want a house like everybody else got a house. I don't want to be out in the cold. I don't want to be freezing.
Right.
So they get villainized. Oh, y'all sold drugs and y'all killed the era. And at the end of the day, the motivation and the hustle, because a lot of people took the same hustle that Jay had, and it wasn't just streets. It was niggas that went into the boardrooms and niggas that went into to corporate and had the mind state that Jay had, like, listen, y'all not jerking me. We're going to get this money. We're going to do this. So
that was gangster.
Exactly.
You needed that.
You needed that
a Carl
inspiration.
Kanai. You needed a Jay-Z, Dame,
you needed
and
all
Biggs.
of this inspiration. So
you needed a Diddy.
You needed everyone played their part. You know what I'm saying? So I want to dispel myths. Like, y'all not going to just pigeonhole, people who have done illegal things to being criminals and negative. No. Yes, the acts have been wrong. We right our wrongs. We realize if we had better situations, if we knew better, we probably would have did way better. Right. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, this is what we were given. This is all we knew. And we figured out, you can look at Hov now and say, this is a billionaire. You're looking at, you know what I'm saying? You look at
that
50 Cent, you look at 50, these niggas is billionaires. Like, they took this.
Dude.
That's what I'm saying. You took the
mindset.
I mean,
he's not my friend, but I'm inspired.
But that's my friend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We was having this conversation the other day, and I was just talking how I watched 50 come from that. I watched when me and him was battle rapping, and I knew he was hungry. And then he came to me one day like, yo, I'm about to be in the source. And I was telling nigga, this nigga is not going to stop. He's not going to stop until he win because he had that mind state. So, you know what I'm saying? Y'all want to take the street element and just make it into the most negative shit ever. And yes, it was negative. And yes, it was crime done. And lives was lost. And freedom was lost. And we wish we could change those realities. But the reality is, a lot of the shit that we went through to get where we are paved the way and created people who didn't have to go through just the mind state that we showed them, the perseverance, the will not to just lose. You know what I'm saying? So I that's why I'm doing this. And I want people to understand the Aron. So Aron was the hustler all through this time.
See, let's be clear too. We speaking a lot to the end result. We gotta take into consideration, initially, it was a party drug. This was an introduction to a good time for people that ended up a bad time. So when all of this money is being generated, nobody sees the end result. Sure, it was propaganda to say, don't do this because it's leading to this. Just like it's propaganda to say we should help the people on fentanyl now, right? So that new level of concern that's hitting society.
It wasn't there before.
Right. Not for rehabilitation.
No, because it wasn't even a reality that we identified.
Because it was solely on us. Now, this new drug is being given out by the powers that be, thereby it got to be an accident that this is happening. So for us, it was
you trying to kill everybody.
They arch criminals and they need to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. And even our leaders fell into that, frame of reference. Like, yeah, kill them all. Put them in jail. And
it was a direct attack,
right,
on our communities.
And I seen an interview that Rango did, and they voiced their opinion like it was a good idea at the time. We thought it was the best approach to, what we thought the epidemic of the moment should be handled.
Because that's what they were being taught, right? Because the generation prior to that never seen that, they just wanted the streets clean. They was like, these people ODing, this and that, they need to go to jail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As you get older, you're a civilian, you're a citizen, you paying your taxes. You don't want to walk in your hallway and see none of this shit. You just trying to figure out what y'all need to do. My grandmother was saying, send them all to jail. Like, everybody need to go to jail.
You young dudes now scare me.
Yeah,
and I'll be like,
exactly, yo. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
If I ain't know no better, I'll probably be up there like this. I don't know. I think some of these guys need to go to. Like,
I hear it all the time, but I'm watching dudes our age say that. Like, yo, you. I'm like, nah, I don't want.
But I can't do that. They're a byproduct of me.
They're a byproduct. So our goal is to try to redirect them. You know what I'm saying?
It's so many guys that I see now that's successful that I may have been a part of shaping them.
And even in your negativity, right?
No,
they
negative aspect.
The negative aspect of A, and they wasn't like, I'm not a street dude, but I see that energy. I want to be like A in this way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that did that. Like, if you look at hip-hop fans, most of the fans is not street people.
Right.
Right? Most of the people that, if you look at 5 million records sold, they ain't just come from the hood. It's in the suburbs.
Right.
So a lot of them young suburban kids was influenced by that music, and they took that into boardrooms, and they took it into corporations, and they took it into colleges, and they had the same hustlers mentality, and they took it somewhere else. Right. So I'm not gonna let nobody pigeonhole hip hop into something that's just negative.
I love hip hop. And
get back to you, A.
Right. Let's do it.
So A was in the streets all through the 90s to 2000. So you said you had a kid at 22.
Yes.
Did you start changing your mind frame when you had a baby, or you was just like, I'm going?
So once again, we got to speak in totality, right? Certain things are happening at the same time. I'm deciding to be in love or deciding to have a baby or not deciding, but the baby is coming, right? Whatever is happening that's changing the circumstances of my day-to-day approach to life. Outside of what I was feeling on a relationship, it was people dying. It was friends going to jail prematurely. It's friends that didn't make it to jail, that died on the streets. And once these things happen in bunches, you have to take a step back and say, I know initially I knew what I signed up for, and, I want to keep it so real that I make myself accountable to my decision making. But on the same token, you have to start adding up what's worth this and what's worth that. Mm-hmm. I state clearly, you have to stand on your convictions. If you that crazy motherfucker that's running around doing all of this stuff, you want to sell all the drugs, you want to be Kilimanjaro, cool. That's your life. All right, no problem. Don't go in there and start telling on everybody. Go on, take your pain.
Your lumps.
Take that.
Same way you took the joy.
However, if I could be of any service to anybody, I'll tell you, there's so much talent out here that's being wasted. These guys that's getting killed early or dying on drug overdoses and all of this good stuff, they had so much more to contribute. Mm-hmm. So, going back to me, Aron 96 to 2000, I'm trying to find my way out. I'm trying to explore.
So now you trying to change. You like, it's time for me to go.
I'm in the books again. Real estate. I'm in the books. Oh, teach me how to read blueprints so I could do the construction. I'm going to just start buying these properties. This stuff is starting to resonate with me because there's no glory in being a fool. There's no glory in running around saying, I'm going to be the realest dummy.
Dumb nigga.
Right? Like, you're going to be the realest.
The smartest dumb nigga.
Right. Like, I mean, like, after a while, you start to understand albeit money is money. It never loses flavor. Like you could manage to justify doing a whole bunch of bad when you keep seeing a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. Understandable. I've even dipped out and dipped back in after understanding. So
you get it.
I get it. But I started challenging my mind to say this can't be that. And then when the young lady got pregnant, I had to sit her down. Like, yo, you want me here? Like, do you want to be in a relationship? Like, how? First of all, do you like this relationship? Oh, you the best boyfriend I've had. You know what I'm saying? Da, da, da. I'm like, I bet. In order for me to be here with you, I would have to change my lifestyle. In order for that to be a successful transition, I'm gonna have to probably go to school, put my muscle behind my hustle and open a business. And in doing these things, I could use some backbone. So you should go to school and pick a career and da-da-da-da. If you had all of these things and they worked in conjunction with one another, then you'd be dangerous. But let's say your partner ain't ready for that. Mm-hmm. And you got to carry the load.
Carry all of that.
And if you're not strong enough in your resolve, then you're still, as a leader, collapse your own ship and kill your own crew by accident. And I mean that in a way of, and I got to take responsibility for bad leadership because I wasn't sturdy enough to have the team that I had around me not want to be a part of transition and me still going ahead or finding a new team that could get me where I wanted to be. I stayed stuck with the guys that I started with and win, lose, draw.
I'm with them. Even though I'm trying to do this and they not, fuck it, I'm just going to stay.
And I have to get the blame for that. I have to look in the mirror and say, it was my bad leadership that allowed me to stay around something that wasn't conducive to the overall
accountability.
Right.
It's one of the principles of manhood, accountability.
Man. And it's a painful accountability. I bet you that.
That's why niggas tell all day, because they don't want to nobody want to be accountable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But when you call yourself a man and you have levels of integrity and you lead a certain way, you viewed a certain way, you hold yourself to a certain standard,
right?
Then it comes with that level of accountability.
Right. But my youth is still there. So 2000, I'm still, half of the year I'm 20 years old, half of the year I'm 21. I could tuck responsibility and accountability in my inside pocket and keep going.
Like later, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah, because I still supposed to be a part of, and it's still easy enough to pause it and get another run going. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I definitely try to reconcile what all I had to do to convince myself to be in that. But you love these guys you with. You form this camaraderie.
It's so hard to separate yourself from people that you love, that you've been blood, sweat, and tears when you know the shit is not conducive to you no more. Right. You know that the energy, even what they on, you ain't even on, but you love them. You trying to bring them and they like, it's like watching Tommy and Ghost. And Ghost was like, Tommy, he like, fuck that, we sell drugs. What are you talking about?
Even Tasha.
Tasha like, we sell drugs. What you
gotta go get them.
You hustle. So a nigga like, nah, dog, I'm trying to got these businesses. So that's where when you look at that, you like, I know all too well how this shit.
I used to look at Power, no bullshit. I was looking at Taj character on the joint like this. Whack. Like, because a show can make me get in my feelings because it gives me deja vu in so many instances when I see the dude like, yo, look at Sully wildin'.
So.
Yo, come on, Sully, like, why you kill Jamie? Yo.
This goes out to you. This goes out to you. This goes out to you.